you are any less, but I just have a list. So if you didn't make it to the list, you can blame our Deputy Executive Secretary. But I just want to say good morning and thank you so much for this opportunity to address you. First of all, I want to say thank you to this region. I come as a bearer of good news. Very often when we talk about HIV, we're giving you bad news, but let me start with the good news to echo exactly what our Deputy Executive Secretary was saying. We have very good news about our HIV response. We have yielded great progress in this region in particular, with a number of people living with HIV going down from 1.1 million new infections to 450,000. That's what the 59% drop looks like. The number of AIDS-related deaths dropped from 600,000 to 260,000 between 2010 and 2023. HIV treatment in this region continues to expand, and many of you here are considered world leaders. When we did our global update report, we have at least 4 or 5 from the SADC region who are countries who are in the lead in terms of achieving the 95, 95, 95 targets. But what that looks like for the region, there are still 13 million people living with HIV in the SADC region. About 84% is what we've achieved in terms of treatment coverage, and about 94% of these are virally suppressed. So we are doing well, and this is remarkable progress. But let us not confuse progress with victory, with success, with ending AIDS. 260,000 AIDS deaths last year alone is one death too many. And I know each of you know in your countries how many deaths there have been. The AIDS response stands at a crossroads. It is a difficult time for us to be confronting these issues and looking to end AIDS as a public health threat. In an unprecedented changing world with emerging threats, we have seen the changes in our donor countries. I will not talk much about our results from the last elections because we don't know what the implications are yet in the US government, but we do know that there is change ahead. We also know that escalating climate emergencies are causing major drama and issues with floods and droughts in our countries. The El Nino effect continues to impact on us and ultimately impacting on our collective health. The biggest issue, of course, that we are very concerned about is a reduction in available resources to be able to do what we've been doing to get us this far, and we'll talk more about it as we come to that part. And so in our global update report, when we talked about HIVs at a crossroads, we made the argument that the choices that each of you make today will determine where we achieve and when and how we achieve the results by 2030 to end AIDS as a public health threat. So what does this mean for SADC, and how do we accelerate this progress to end AIDS? You know, recently we were at a meeting in South Africa. Honorable Deputy Minister, it's wonderful to see you again. This meeting was about accelerating the response in South Africa. And somebody did a back of an envelope report, calculation. And that calculation made the argument that if we all collectively, this was about South Africa, but again, I'm sure if we do this for each of your countries, if we continue to respond to AIDS at the current pace that we're responding, in terms of treatment, in terms of prevention, we are it will only end in the year 2050. So if we continue at the current pace and don't accelerate the work that we're doing, then it is easily 30, 40 years away from what we expect in terms of our results. And let's go through why we're saying this. So HIV prevention remains a major, major issue for us, right? The targets we had set was that we would be at 130,000 by 2025. 2025 is knocking at our door. It is next year. We are still at 300,000 new infections every year in this SADC region. 300,000. The story of prevention is a really, really dire one because it is coming from all kinds of populations. My friend, Minister of Madagascar, is not here. But just 2 weeks ago, we attended a colloquium on HIV and hepatitis in the Indian Ocean countries. And we heard a horrific story from one of the regions where a member of parliament who noticed that her niece was walking around looking thinner and unhealthier. You know, the stories that we know from 20, 30 years ago. And so decided to assist her to take an HIV test, which are very rare in a country like Madagascar. The whole country of 31 million people has 400,000 test kits. That's it.